Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Danvat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada, please accept my humble obeisances. So, yesterday we talked about the appearance of Jagannath ji and the whole story starting from how the Neel Madhav deities came to Neelachal at the beginning of Brahmaji's life, right? Then we talked about in later on in Brahmaji's life in one of the kalpas how Krishna, Balram and Subhadra showed their Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra form to Narad Muni, and Narad Muni requested that please stay in this form in some part of the universe, right? Please do stay in this form somewhere. And Lord promised that yes, once Neel Madhav deities disappear, I will stay in this form from that time on. And that time will come after the 50 years of Brahmaji's life is over. So then when Brahmaji turned 50 years old, then the Neel Madhav deities disappeared. And King Indradyumna, who was looking for them, he sent his one of his deputies, Vidyapati, and Vidyapati was able to get darshan of Neel Madhav deities. But when he got to get the king, and king came with his whole kingdom and everything, by that time Neel Madhav deities had disappeared. And then Narad Muni guided him along with Shivji and everybody how to manifest the Jagannath Ji's deity. And so he conducted 1,000 Ashwamedh Yagyas, he installed some Narsingha deities, and then he was finally able to get the mercy of Lord so that the Daru Brahman, the log, appeared in the ocean, which Vishwakarma was able to carve into the three glorious deities of Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra. So this is the stories we did yesterday. We also talked about one small story of Markandeya Rishi, which basically tells us the glories of Purushottam Kshetra. Why Lord chose that Purushottam Kshetra as the Neelachal, as the place of the blue mountain with the blue cave, with the blue sapphire deities and the self-effulgent deities. Why that place? Because why that Purushottam Kshetra was so spiritually elevated and important. And then the same place was chosen to install Jagannath Ji's deities as well, where the Jagannath Puri temple was built and still stands with the deities. So what is the glories of that Purushottam Kshetra was described by that Markandeya Rishi story, right? In between come some other stories, but I will, since not many people have joined yet, I'll start with the appearance of Jagannath Ji. So Jagannath Ji has appeared, and you know that everything Lord does, every single thing Lord does is basically a festival, right? So Jagannath Ji's appearance that day when the log appeared in the ocean, that day is celebrated as the Snan Yatra festival. So I'll talk about that, and then we'll take some stories which are more important than some others. So Snan Yatra happens about 2 weeks before the Jagannath Rathyatra, right? So this is the day when the Lord basically takes a public bath or public shower in front of the whole, not only the devotees assembled in the temple, but also the view is visible to people outside the temple also. So this happens on the Purnima, the full moon night, full moon day of Jyesht month, which is this month. So it's coming up on June 14th actually, this year, June 14th on the Purnima. Basically the concept is that the month of May and June, you know, they're very hot. So the Lord gets, and especially Jagannath Puri gets really hot. So the Lord gets so hot that he wants a cold bath with cold water. So he wants to be taken outside and he wants to give darshan. He's very merciful, right? We understand the merciful aspect of Lord, of Jagannath Ji. So he wants to give mercy to even those people that will not come into the temple and give them darshan. He will take a bath outside in the temple courtyard. And so on the courtyard, a very tall, very high bathing platform is constructed, which is called a Snan Mandap or Snan Vedi. It's like a pandal, basically a very huge bathing pandal is constructed on which the three lordships are placed, right? And the procession that brings the deities outside from the temple to outside into the courtyard to the Snan Mandap, that procession is called Pahandi. Okay, and when they are brought out, a lot of mantras are chanted, conch shells are being blown, kirtan is happening, drums are mridanga is playing, drums are beating, Vedic hymns are being chanted. A lot happens. So it's a huge procession that is bringing the deities out. So, and then the night before the bathing happens, so Purnima, morning of Purnima, the bathing will happen, but the day before, the water is collected for the bathing. Okay, and this water is also special water. It is from a Suna Kua or golden well, from which 130 vessels of copper and gold are filled with the water. So, and then priests will put special things in those water pots. They'll put, oils and turmeric and flowers and chandan and various type of perfumes or fragrances, rice. All this is put to purify the water. And then in the night, they will keep the pots covered because the bathing will happen the next day. So in the night, they keep them covered so that there can be no contamination. And also the whole Snan Vedi, the whole mandap where they're being bathed, is also very profusely decorated with a lot of, paintings and mango leaf decorations, flags, flowers, right? And deities are also very much decorated. So many oils and dhoop or perfumes are put on them. So when all this arrangement is made, then the next day the festival takes place in the morning hours of that Purnima Tithi, right? Um, so all that decorating the Snan Mandap, building the Snan Mandap, bringing the water happened on the Chaturdashi, and then on the day before Snan Yatra. Then on the Snan Yatra, the day of Purnima, the actual Snan happens. That is the actual appearance day of Jagannath Ji, when King Indradyumna had found the log and had actually cleaned the log, bathed it, and that is also known as Festival of Purushottama sometimes. And that particular Purnima is known as Devasan Purnima. So in this way, the Lord is given a bath in front of everybody. Now, when this bath happens, obviously it's a very huge, very grand celebration. Thousands of people are crowded outside the temple and around the courtyard. Now, when all this bathing happens, there's so much water being put on the deities that that the deities are decorated not with like artificial colors, right? They're not modern oil-based paints. They're decorated with the natural, like earthly mineral paints. So when all this water is put on the deities, their paint washes off. Okay, so at that time, Lord performs a pastime which is called Hathiveish Festival. So and there are some stories behind it. The most famous story behind it is, and Hathiveish basically means an elephantine costume. So the two lords, Lord Balram and Jagannath Ji, they get decked in this elephantine dress or elephant dress, Hathiveish, and Subhadra Maharani dresses in a lotus flower dress. So they are put that Hathiveish is put and is shown to the public. The main story behind it is that one of the devotee, who was actually a devotee of Ganesh Ji, had he was a very great scholar and philosopher also, and the king of Jagannath Puri at that time told this friend of his and scholar and Ganesh devotee that come to the Snan Yatra and watch the appearance of celebrate the appearance day of Jagannath Ji with us. But he was thinking that, oh, this is Jagannath Ji, Lord of the world. He will also be able to show me the form of my Aradhya deity, which is Ganesh Ji. And when he did not see that form, he was feeling separation and dejection. And Jagannath Ji did not want to disappoint him because he was very dear to he was very dear to the king at the time. So Jagannath Ji showed this elephant form. This is one of the stories, but there are other stories behind this pastime of Lord. But this is also sometimes called Ganesh Vesh or Hathi Vesh. So then Lord, because he's in an elephant costume, he's in a Ganesh costume. So then he's offered many many items for delicacies to eat, like sweet and sticky buns and cakes, and local delicacies are made for him. Aarti happens. Now, another pastime that happens here is, which is very important and famous, is that having taken bath from so much cold water, all three lords, they fall sick, right? They fall sick. So they have to be taken to the sick room. They have to take rest now. So for the next 15 days, they are now in the sick room called Ratan Vedi, where they're being cared for by the certain people that are very close to him, and I'll tell you who those are. But basically, this pastime is where they all fall sick, and they are not appearing to the public anymore, so they don't give darshan in the temple anymore for those full 2 weeks until Rathyatra. Now on the Rathyatra they will give darshan again, right? So Snan Yatra to Rathyatra is 2 weeks time. In this 15 days, now they are sick and they are taken to the sick room, Ratan Vedi, and this 2 weeks of time is called Anabsara Kal. जैसे अवसर होता है, ऐसे है अनवसर, कि अवसर meaning opportunity to get the Lord's darshan. Anavsara means when you don't have the opportunity to get the Lord's darshan. So this is the time when Lord does not give darshan for the 2 weeks. So now, I said yesterday that while I was telling the story of Vidyapati, and he met these people called Shabras, right? Tribal folks that he met, and one of their kings was where Vidyapati stayed. Does anyone remember the name of that king? Because that is now relevant here. I said that name is important yesterday. Please try to remember the name. Anyone remembers the name of that king where Vidyapati stayed, and the king used to go and serve Nilmadhav deities, and when he would come back, he would be very fragrant, and he would give him this prasad, which was very out of this world, and he used to serve the Nilmadhav deities. Who was that person that was the Shabra king? Okay, Navya remembers. Yes.
Vishwavasu.
Yeah. So that king his name was Vishwavasu, right? Vishwavasu. So these people that take care of Jagannath ji during this time are the descendants of Vishwavasu. So they're called Daitas. Daitas are the one that, because they're so close to the Lord that even though rest of the time there are many priests and pandas that are taking care of Jagannath ji, they're doing a lot of service to the Lord, but when he's sick, the Daitas take care of him. These are the descendants of Vishwavasu. So they repaint the deities, they put all the decorations on them again, they redecorate them, recolor them. And for 7 days they're colored, for 7 days they're decorated, and then for the last 1 day, the 15th day, then their final touches are given on the deities. So all the personal intimate service is done by Daitas actually. And this is one of the aspects of Lord's mercy, that he gives this Shabra dynasty the chance to serve even more than the learned pandits or priests. So in this way, for 2 weeks they are now staying in the Ratan Vedi and not giving darshan. And at that time they are given fruits and special type of herbs, medicinal herbs, to treat their fever and their sickness, right? So they give them something called das mool medicine. So mool means like roots, right? Roots and herbs. So dasa moola are the special like herbs and things that are given by the Vaidyas to treat, whether in the old times it used to be the royal physicians or Raj Vaidyas that would give them these das moolas, and then various type of fruits and simple diet of nuts and fruits and some water is given. So then finally, after this 15 days over, and they have been repainted, redecorated, their health is restored, they come back and give darshan on the day of Jagannath Rathyatra, right? And that day, that 16th day, when they appear to the public, it's called Netrotsav, meaning the festival for the eyes. or Nav Yovan Utsava, the festival of ever new youth. So Netrotsava or Nav Yovan Utsava is the day when they again give darshan. So this is a small festival about Snan Yatra and then how they go sick. And then comes the Rathyatra, right? But before Rathyatra, um, the day before the Rathyatra, this pastime happens called Gundicha Marjanam, right? And Gundicha Marjanam is basically so first of all, you know that Rath Yatra basically means that the three lordships are put on the Rath, each one on each Rath on a very big chariot or cart, and then they're given this public cart ride, and they go from the Jagannath Puri temple to the Gundicha temple, right? You remember Gundicha? Does anyone remember who Gundicha was?
Wife of the king.
Yes, that's right. So she was wife of Indradyumna Maharaj, right? And she took care of the deities for all the time that Indradyumna Maharaj was gone with Narad Muni to Brahmalok, right? And then the deities were taken from that place called Gundicha temple to the Jagannath Puri temple and installed by Brahmaji. So now the Rath Yatra happens from the Puri temple to Gundicha temple, right? So from Puri to Gundicha. And this, so since Lord is coming to Gundicha, that temple is cleaned the day before the Rath Yatra because Lord is coming the next day. So that process of cleaning is called Gundicha Marjanam. And this was performed by our, dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years back. And this is described in very, very detail in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So I will talk about this, but before I talk about Gundicha Marjanam or Rath Yatra, I wanted to tell you all a story. And because once we understand that story, and I'll show you some verses or some translations from some pages from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela to understand this pastime, because I have no words to describe this pastime, and it can only be understood very well in Krishnadas Kaviraj's own words or our Prabhupada's own words. So we'll just read those words instead of hearing me. But I'll just give an outline of the story and then we can read some of those verses. If you want, we can take turns and read. So, so in order to understand Jagannath Rath Yatra, we have to understand who Jagannath Ji is, what is his mood, what is Jagannath Puri, and what is Gundicha temple, where he's starting from and where is he going. Okay. So for that we have to go into, we know that Jagannath Ji is Krishna, right? But to understand the mood of Krishna as Jagannath Ji, we have to go into the into his leelas, into Krishna's leelas as Brajendra Nandan and then as Dwarkadish, right? So you know that Vrindavan is the highest spiritual abode, right? This is the place that Krishna and Radharani never leave, right? They always stay in Vrindavan, right? We know that Braj Bhakti is the highest, topmost, right? We know that gopis are the topmost devotees of the Lord, and among the gopis, Radharani is the highest devotee. And when Krishna wants to understand the mood of Radharani, he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he wants to understand the mood of a devotee, the topmost devotee being Radharani, he takes her mood, he takes her love and comes to understand what she feels, right? That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in Vrindavan, Krishna had so many pastimes, right? With gopis, with Radharani, with his friends Gopas, with Yashoda Maya, with Nand Maharaj, and so many pastimes, so much details that, the queens also wanted to hear Yesterday we talked about how the queens wanted to hear. And on hearing those pastimes, even Krishna, Balram, Subhadra Maharani felt so much separation from Vrindavan, right? And they showed that, they manifested that form of Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. Now, in this way, in Vrindavan, everybody was so happy. Krishna was there. He was fighting with all these demons, defeating them, and the Vrindavan mood is completely full of love for Krishna. Right? There is no Aishwarya Bhav there. Right? Nobody thinks that Krishna is God there. Nobody is in awe or reverence of Krishna there. Right? That is the mood of Vrindavan. But then one day Akrura came, right? And he said that Krishna and Balram need to go away with him to Mathura, right? Because Kans is calling for him. So then they both left. And when they left, can you imagine that gopis are completely immersed in the love, in the Madhurya Bhav for Krishna. And now they suddenly leave, right? It's like, it's as if somebody has pulled the soul out of the body, huh? And in a very violent act, somebody has pulled the soul out, and whatever is left is just a body, which does not matter, because the soul has left, the consciousness is left. That's how the Vrajvasis, the gopis felt, right? There was so much separation when Krishna used to in Ras Leela, when Krishna used to hide to tease gopis just for a few moments. Gopis felt so much separation that they will sing this Gopi Geet, right? They will say that you saved us from all these demons, and now you saved us so that you can kill us today. That's why you saved us from all those demons. In that way, they used to lament when Krishna would hide even just for a few minutes during Ras Leela. And now imagine that he has left Vrindavan. He has gone to Mathura. And then for so long, he does not come back. He's not coming back. He's become there, he's become Dwarkadish there. He's now in Aishwarya Bhav. There is, the people are devotees there, but in Mathura and Dwarka, the bhakti is very much different from Raj Bhakti, right? These people know, these devotees of Mathura and Dwarka know that Krishna is their supreme authority, so they go to him for their protection. They worship him, they in awe and reverence, right? There is a lot of opulence is used to worship him, right? So very different bhav in Mathura and Dwarka compared to Vrindavan. So in this way, many years passed, right? Many years passed, and the whole time Krishna, as you heard also yesterday, was feeling separation from Rajvasis, from Gopis, from Radharani, from Vrindavan. And the gopis and Yashoda Maya and Radharani and Nand Maharaj, everybody's feeling separation from Krishna. Now you would say that if they're feeling so much separation, they would probably, just like Dashrath Maharaj, leave their body. But no, their love was so supreme that they could not hurt Krishna. They wanted to keep waiting for him, because in case he returns one day, then they should be there. Because otherwise, if they left their body, then Krishna will be completely heartbroken if he came one day and did not find. If he did not find Yashoda Maya or Nand Maharaj there, he will be heartbroken. So they maintained their lives somehow for so many years. And in this way, 100 years passed. Okay, 100 years passed. After 100 years, Krishna as Dwarkadish. So remember, now Krishna is Dwarkadish, right? Long time back, 100 years back, he left Vrindavan. He left gopis crying and Radharani crying there. And 100 years have passed. And then he writes a letter to people in Vrindavan. And he says, I want to meet you. I want to meet you all of them, every single person, every single gopi and gopa and Nand Maharaj and Yashoda Maya. I want to meet everybody. Can we meet somewhere? And they decide on a place called Kurukshetra. Okay, they decide that let's meet in Kurukshetra because it is close to Vrindavan. It's not too far, and we can. It's like a middle route from Dwarka as well as Vrindavan. So they all met there. Okay. And when they met there, what happened is what I want you to read in the verses of Chaitanya Charitamrita, because I cannot, I have no power to describe this beautiful scene. You just have to read it. So, and this scene is described through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's vision. Okay, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This chapter comes in Madhya Leela. This is when Lord is dancing in Jagannath Rathyatra. You know, he stayed in Jagannath. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed in Jagannath Puri for 18 years, right? And every single Rath Yatra, his associates from Navdvip would come and they will all dance in the Rath Yatra, right? And when Mahaprabhu would dance, he would recite certain verses, he would sing certain songs, right? And sometimes he will say certain verses or certain songs that only his close associates, like Swarup Damodar Das or Rup Goswami, right? They could understand the emotions, the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but nobody else could, right? So, so he recited certain verses, and remember he's Radharani, and remember that Radharani is meeting Krishna. Gopis are meeting Krishna in Kurukshetra after 100 years of separation, and Radharani looks at Krishna, and she was thinking that Krishna would just look the same. There would be a peacock feather on his head. There would be a flute in his left hand. There would be like an simple uttariya on his body, a yellow colored garment covering his upper and lower body. There will be cows with him. But when she met him, there are no cows. There are many, many elephants and horses, right? Very, very opulent chariots have come with Krishna. There are so many soldiers that are guarding him. There are no gopas, there are soldiers there now. And then she sees that instead of the peacock feather, there is this crown or this turban, very opulent turban, jewel-studded turban on his head. Instead of flute, there is no flute in his hand anymore. Instead of the yellow, simple uttariya and dhoti, he's now wearing very opulent garments befitting a king. So he looks like a king. He's Dwarkadhish. He looks like a very opulent king. And they're just looking at him from far. And and this is what Radharani says. So this is in the words of Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna in the mood of Radharani. So let's, if you don't mind, I think we should. I will start reading I'll read the first four verses, but then comes a very beautiful verse that maybe somebody else should read. So I'll start reading the first four. So this is from Madhya Leela. I think this is chapter 1. Yes, chapter 1, and we are reading verse 53. Let's read from 53. So this is Mahaprabhu dancing in front of the cart, okay, or visiting Jagannath ji. This is Mahaprabhu visiting Jagannath ji. The dancing in the cart I'll show again because these verses get repeated again. So let's read from 53. At those times, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would visit Lord Jagannath. Then his feelings exactly corresponded to those of the gopis when they saw Krishna at Kurukshetra after long separation. Krishna had come to Kurukshetra with his brother and sister to visit. 54. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to dance before the cart during the festival, he always sang the following two lines. I have gotten that Lord of my life, for whom I was burning in the fire of lusty desires. This is Radharani saying. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to sing the song Saita Paran Natha, especially during the latter part of the day, and he would think, let me take Krishna and go back to Vrindavan. This ecstasy was always filling his heart. In that ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited a verse when dancing in front of Lord Jagannath. Almost no one could understand the meaning of that verse. So let's read this verse. Who would like to read this one?
Mataji, can I read this translation?
Yes, Ansh, please.
That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of
Chaitra.
Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest, and our intimate relationship. I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the banks of Reva under the Veshtwetasi tree. That is my desire.
Very bold. Thank you, Ansh, for reading. Mataji, would you like to read too?
Yes, Mataji, I can see. This verse appears to be the hankering
Mataji,
between...
read this verse again. This one again.
Yes, Mataji. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of Malti flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva, under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for reading. I'll just discuss this and then we'll skip several and then please read again after that and a few verses down. So this is the verse that he recited. Very, very beautiful. He says, so Radharani is saying that these are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra, right? Same fragrance of Malti flowers and same sweet breezes blowing from Kadamba forest. I'm the same Radha, you are the same Krishna. Yet she was not feeling the same, right? So she said, I'm eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire. So her desire was to take Krishna back to Vrindavan, because unless you take him back to Vrindavan, this Aishwarya Bhav, this Aishwarya, this opulence will stick around with him and they're not able to feel that pure love. That Braj Bhakti that Radharani and Gopis are so used to. I'll just read this one more. This verse appears to be the hankering between some ordinary boy and girl, but it is actually deep meaning was known only to Swarup Damodar. By chance, one year Rup Goswami was also present there. So when he was singing this, somebody ordinary might think that, oh, like an ordinary boy and girl are describing their love for each other. But actually, the meaning is very deep. It is the devotion of a bhakta for Krishna. It is the highest, the Madhurya Bhav that Radharani experiences, feels for Krishna is being described in this verse. So Swarup Damodar Das understood that meaning, but also one year Rup Goswami was present there, right? And he understood the meaning also. So as a describing the meaning of this verse, he wrote it on a palm leaf and he put it on the roof of his hut, thatched hut. And one day he was not in his hut when Mahaprabhu came to visit him, and Mahaprabhu saw this verse stuck on his hut, and he read it. He read it. He realized that Rup Goswami has understood my heart. So look how Mahaprabhu says, "No one knows the purport of my verse. How could you understand my intention?" So, and then he offered him various benedictions and he embraced him in many, many ways. He showed affection to Rup Goswami. Um, and even having shown the verse to Swarup Damodar with great wonder, Mahaprabhu asked him how Rupa Goswami could understand the intentions of his mind, right? So Swarup Damodar Das replies, if Rup Goswami can understand your mind, he must have your lordship's special benedictions. That's why he can understand. So in this is the brief pastime that I just wanted to say. But let's read from here. Okay, I think Navya wants to read a couple. Let's read from here a few verses. This is another verse spoken by.
This is a verse spoken by Srimati Radharan. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend on this field of
Krishna on the
Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would still like to go to the bank of Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan.
Read a couple more.
Now, O devotees, please hear a brief explanation of this verse. Lord Chaitanya was thinking in this way after seeing the Jagannath deity. The subject of his thoughts were Srimati Radharani, who met Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra. Although she met Krishna there, she was nonetheless thinking of him in the following way.
Very bold. Mataji, or would someone like to read next maybe 4 verses till 82?
I can read.
Yes.
The subject of his thoughts was Srimati Radharani, who met Krishna on the field of Kurukshetra. Although she met Krishna there, she was nonetheless thinking of him in the following way. She thought of him in the calm and quiet atmosphere of Vrindavan, dressed as a cowherd boy, but at Kurukshetra he was in a royal dress and was accompanied by elephants, horses, and crowds of men. Thus the atmosphere was not congenial for their meeting. Thus, meeting with Krishna and thinking of Vrindavan atmosphere, Radharani longed for Krishna to take her to Vrindavan again to fulfill her desire in the calm atmosphere. The gopis spoke thus, "Dear Lord, whose navel is just like a lotus flower, your lotus feet are the only shelter for those who have fallen into the deep well of material existence. Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis and highly learned philosophers. We wish that these lotus feet may be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs." Hari Bol. Should I go on?
Just read one more, I think.
The gopis thought, "Dear Lord, if your lotus feet again came to our home in Vrindavan, our desires will be fulfilled."
So basically, they're saying they want to take him. Radharani wants to take him back to Vrindavan, and gopis want to take him back to Vrindavan, right? So they met in. So this is the scene. They met in Kurukshetra, and they're feeling the separation from that Krishna, the Brajendra Nandan Krishna, the Nandanandan Krishna, Yashoda Nandan Krishna, that used to exchange all those loving pastimes with them in Vrindavan. They want that same Krishna back. And they think this atmosphere is not congenial. This way that Krishna is dressed, the people that he's surrounded with, all of this is not congenial to express our love and devotion to Krishna. We have to take him back to Vrindavan. That is the most highest abode for our bhakti to be, as a platform for our bhakti. So we have to take him back there. So all of them are hankering to take Krishna back to Vrindavan, right? And so this was a chapter 1 of Madhya Leela. Now we go to chapter 13 of Madhya Leela. And this chapter is called the ecstatic dancing of the Lord at Rathyatra. So whole chapter about how Mahaprabhu used to dance at the Rathyatra. Okay, I'll read a couple. So he was dancing, okay. After abandoning the dancing, the Lord ordered Swarup Damodar to sing. Understanding his mind, Swarup Damodar began to sing as follows. So you see the same verse. Now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away. So slightly different, but similar meaning. When this refrain was loudly sung by Swarup Damodar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again began rhythmically dancing in transcendental bliss. The car of Lord Jagannath began to move slowly while the son of Mother Shachi, so this is Shachi Nandan is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, went ahead and danced in front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of Lord Jagannath kept their eyes on him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtana performers. Okay, so can somebody read from here? maybe a few verses and then we'll see.
While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, his ecstasy changed. Raising his two arms, he began to recite the following verse in a loud voice. The very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlight nights of the month of Chaitra, the same fragrance of multi flowers, and there the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, but yet my mind is not happy here. I'm eager to go back on the bank of river under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire.
This verse was recited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again and again, but for Swarup Damodar, no one could understand its meaning. I have already explained this verse. Now I shall simply describe it in brief. Formerly, all the gopis of Vrindavan were very pleased when they met with Krishna in the holy place of Kurukshetra. Similarly, after seeing Lord Jagannath, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awoke with the ecstasy of the gopis. Being absorbed in this ecstasy, he asked Swarup Damodar to sing the refrain. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke thus to Lord Jagannath. You are the same Krishna and I am the same Radharani. We are meeting again in the same way that we met in the beginning of our lives. Although we are both the same, my mind is still attracted to Vrindavan Dham. I wish that you will please again appear with your lotus feet in Vrindavan. In Kurukshetra, there are crowds of people, elephants and horses, and also the rattling of chariots. But in Vrindavan, there are flower gardens, and the humming of the bees and chirping of the birds can be heard. Here at Kurukshetra, you are dressed like a royal prince, accompanied by great warriors. But in Vrindavan, you appeared just like an ordinary cowherd boy, accompanied only by your beautiful flute. Here, there is not even a drop of the ocean of transcendental happiness that I enjoyed with you in Vrindavan. I therefore request you to come to Vrindavan and enjoy the pastimes with me. If you do so, my ambition will be fulfilled. I have already described in brief statement Srimati Radharani's statement from Srimad Bhagavatam. In that ecstatic mood, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited many other verses, but people in general could not understand their meaning. The meaning of those verses was known to Swarup Damodar Goswami, but he did not reveal it. However, Sri Rup Goswami has broadcasted this meaning. So ये हमने पढ़ लिया था. This following verse was recited by gopis who also requested Krishna to come back with him. And then many beautiful things that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying to Jagannath Ji in the mood of Radharani. I think you can all. I just wanted to introduce this. Please read it. They are the Radharani and gopis are saying so many things to Krishna here. They are saying you sent Uddhav Ji to teach us Ashtanga yoga. You told him to teach us speculative knowledge and mystic yoga. We are not yogis. We don't have any place for Jnana yoga, Dhyan yoga, Ashtanga yoga in our heart. We only understand your love and devotion, right? So it is not right for you to do so. They're chastising Krishna. This is a very beautiful conversation. Please read it in your own time. But I wanted to introduce the story, and they say that this is so many things to Krishna. See, Mahaprabhu continued. Gopis have fallen into the great ocean of separation and are being devoured by the Timingila fish of their ambition to serve you. The gopis are to be delivered from the mouths of these Timingila fish, for they are the pure devotees. Since they have no material conception of life, why should they aspire for liberation? The gopis do not want that liberation desired by the yogis and jnanis, for they are already liberated from the ocean of material existence. It is amazing that you have forgotten the land of Vrindavan. How is it that you have forgotten your father, mother, and friends? How have you forgotten Govardhan Hill, the banks of Yamuna, and the forest where you enjoyed the Ras Leela dance? Krishna, so many things are they saying. You are certainly a refined gentleman with all good qualities. You are well behaved, soft hearted, and merciful. I know that there is not even a tinge of fault in you. Yet your mind does not remember the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This is only my misfortune and nothing else. So, in this way, they say so many things, and the conversation continues, and then Krishna starts speaking. And you will be amazed to hear what he tells Radharani. So, he says that you think I was separated from you all this time. I'll just give the gist, but please read. You think I was separated from all of you all this time? Look, he says, you are my most dear, and I know that in my absence you cannot live even for a moment. Just to keep you living, I worship Lord Narayan. By his merciful potency, I come to Vrindavan every day to enjoy the pastimes with you. And then I return to Dwarka Dham. Thus, you can always feel my presence in Vrindavan. He said, I would every day come from Vrindavan to Dwarka, and every time you thought you heard my flute, it was actually my flute. Every time you thought you saw me sitting under a kadam tree, I was actually there. Every time you, in a cow or in a bird or in the wind or anything, you remembered me, I was always there. Our love affair is more powerful because of my good fortune in receiving Narayana's grace. This allows me to come there unseen by others. I hope that very soon I will be visible to everyone. So many things in this way. The conversation goes on between Radharani, Krishna, and the gopis. But this is the story, and that's why I wanted you all to read it. The words of Mahaprabhu, the words of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and translated by our beloved Prabhupada. What all this means. So I hope that everybody understood the now who is Jagannath Ji? So this is ultimately we come to the answer that Jagannath Ji, yes, he's Krishna, but he's actually Krishna. He's actually Dwarkadish in mood of in separation from Vrindavan and Radharani. He's in intense separation. He's the Krishna, the Dwarkadish that met gopis in Kurukshetra. He's that Dwarkadish Krishna who is intensely longing to go back to Vrindavan. He is in mood of separation from Vrindavan. So that is the Jagannath Ji. And imagine then Mahaprabhu came, and Mahaprabhu is basically Radharani, who is in intense separation from Krishna. So there is Vrindavan is the Madhurya land of Madhurya Bhav, where Madhurya is supreme. I said that right. Mathura and Dwarka is a land where Aishwarya is supreme, right? Opulence and awe and reverence is supreme, right? But Jagannath Puri is the dham where separation is supreme. So it is the if there could be any superior bhav than Madhurya bhav, then that would be the bhav of separation or Vipralamba bhav. And that is why Jagannath Puri Kshetra is also called Vipralamba Kshetra. The Purushottam Kshetra is also called Vipralamba Kshetra. Vipralamba means the bhav of separation. So Jagannath Ji is in this intense separation from Vrindavan and from gopis and Radharani. And then Mahaprabhu comes along, and for 18 years he serves Jagannath Ji there in the mood of Radharani. And he's feeling this intense separation from Krishna because Radharani, when she met Krishna in Kurukshetra, she had this desire. So Krishna used to come every day to Vrindavan and used to see us in our mood of separation from him. I wish I could also go to Jagannath Puri, I could also go to Dwarka Dham and see Krishna ruling, conducting his royal business in mood of separation from us. I also want to see how he looks when he is in separation from us. So when he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Radharani, he fulfilled that desire and he wanted to see the separation that Dwarkadish feels from Radharani and from Vrindavan in the form of Jagannath Ji. So when he was in Jagannath Puri, the two people who are in intense separation from each other finally meet, and imagine the rasas that collide, the ecstasies that emerge, right? Such bhav that emanate when Mahaprabhu and Jagannath Ji meet. So that ecstasy you can experience through Chaitanya Charitamrita while reading those verses. But that is the Jagannath Ji, the Dwarkadish, who's basically in intense separation from Vrindavan and from Radharani. And the Rathyatra is nothing but the gopis, the devotees, the Radharani pulling Krishna from Kurukshetra. Either you can say Kurukshetra or Dwarka to Vrindavan. So Jagannath Puri represents the Dwarka Dham or the Kurukshetra where they met and they had intense desire to take him back to Vrindavan. And so from Kurukshetra, they're bringing him, they're putting him on a cart. I wish Radharani thought, the gopis thought, we could put him on a cart right now, put him on a cart and take him back to Vrindavan. He's right here. Let's put him on a cart and take him away from all these soldiers and warriors, from all this opulences of Dwarka, and let's take him back to Vrindavan. And that is what exactly the devotees do when they put the three deities on the cart and they carry them from Jagannath Puri temple, which represents Kurukshetra, and take him back to Gundicha temple, which represents Vrindavan. So that is the Rathyatra. So the deep meaning of Rathyatra, it's not, yes, it is externally that Jagannath Ji is giving mercy to, Lord always when he appears, he has many external and internal reasons for his pastimes. So he's very merciful Lord, and he gives the common explanation given for Rath Yatra is that Lord is giving darshan even to the people who will not come to the temple or who are not allowed in the temple, right? So he's come out to give darshan. Like it is said that when you are sick, right? Like if I'm sick, I will go to the doctor, right? So when people are hankering for some exchanges with Krishna, they will go to the temple. But there are people who are so sick that they cannot go to the doctor even. Then doctor has to come to their house, right? So there are so sick people, like the verse 7.16 says, right? Naradhama, Mooda, Mayaya, Prihidgyana, Asuram Bhavam, right? Ashrita. Those people that will not come to me, come surrender to me at any cost. Those people, if Lord wants to give darshan, then he has to come out of the temple. Only one Lord comes out of the temple. No other deities are taken out of the temple like this. And that Lord is Jagannath Ji. So this is the common reason given, where the external reason is that Lord is bestowing his mercy upon all these people who are not able to come to get his darshan or not willing to come to get his darshan. He comes out of the temple to give darshan to thousands of people, right? Whether you want it or not, you get the darshan. But the internal reason, the deep reason, the reason that we understand from our beautiful Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Mahaprabhu's Leelas, is that it is an intense separation between the devotees, between the Vrajvasis and between Dwarkadhish, and they are dragging Krishna from Dwarka to Vrindavan, bringing him back on a rath so that they can serve him there. And that is the Gundicha temple, which is Vrindavan, basically represented as Vrindavan, right? So, and then our Prabhupada was so merciful that he did not just let the Jagannath Rath Yatra stay in Jagannath. It used to be that Jagannath, who's Lord of the world, was just taking the ride in the cart only in Jagannath, only in Odisha. And Prabhupada started it everywhere in the world, in all the big cities of the world. He started. The first international Rath Yatra was in San Francisco, right? And even as a child, he would do, even as a 5 years old child, he would do a small Rath Yatra in his own community. And he would assign services to different people, different Mataji. You had to make kachori, you have to make puri. I like to have this prasadam, and Jagannath ji likes to have this prasadam. Make sure you cook this and that. And in this way, he started even as a child. And then when he came to US, did the first Rath Yatra in San Francisco, and then that went on to become a major event, everywhere. Think of any big city, US, almost all major cities, and then Europe and London, in India, different cities, everywhere Rath Yatra started. And initially, when the Rath Yatra, when Prabhupada did the Rath Yatra, the Pandas at Jagannath Puri were not happy. They were like, this is Jagannath Rath Yatra, it happens in Jagannath Puri only. How can you take the Lord out in other cities? And Prabhupada had a very nice retort for them. Prabhupada would say one line and he would shut other people up. And he said, this is Jagannath Ji, this is Jagannath, this is not Udiyanath. So Jagannath is going to go all over the world. So Jagannath became really Jagannath, the Lord, the merciful Lord of the whole world that he is, when Prabhupada introduced him to everybody. There is actually a word in English, and I have read this word many times. I did not know this is the origin of this word. It's called Juggernaut. Juggernaut. Juggernaut is said, it basically means unstoppable force. And this word, the origin of this word is Jagannath Rath Yatra, Jagannath cart. So Juggernaut cart, you can look it up, Juggernaut. Juggernaut cart is basically Jagannath Rath. Because when Britishers used to rule India, they would say, they try to stop Rath Yatra. They said, this is not right. This is so many people here. This is dangerous. Actually, people can get killed. There can be a stampede. This is not nice, huh? we should stop this. They tried to put a stop to Jagannath Rathyatra. And look at what happened. Not only did not stop, Prabhupada started it even in London and so many other places in the Western world. So he not only it became even bigger in Jagannath Puri itself, it went on to become big everywhere in the world. So that is the deep story behind the pastime in the Kurukshetra, where Krishna met after 100 years of separation with gopis and with Radharani and other, actually Yashoda Maiya, Nand Maharaj, everybody was there. And the day before the Rathyatra is the Gundicha Marjanam. I don't have time to discuss it, so we'll stop here. But Gundicha Marjanam is basically when the Gundicha temple, which is where Jagannath is coming the next day on his Rath, right? That temple is cleaned by the devotees. And again, Chaitanya Charitamrita very, very beautifully describes the Gundicha Marjanam, very, very beautiful pastime, how Mahaprabhu led the whole Gundicha Marjanam, how they cleaned about more than 100 devotees, cleaned the whole temple, and what detailed cleaning there was, and so many points to be learned from the whole pastime, so many instructional points to be learned by us as devotees, that when we are performing a service, we are how we are purifying ourselves, how we are cleaning ourselves. You think we are just cleaning the temple? No, we are cleaning our own mind, we are cleaning our own conditioning and anarthas. So and that is just one lesson, but there are so many more lessons in the Gundicha pastime. But basically, imagine this is Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in the mood. This is Radharani who's preparing, who's wanted, who's waiting for Krishna to come to Vrindavan. And now tomorrow Krishna is coming to Vrindavan on his Rath. And so she has to clean the temple. So imagine the mood of Mahaprabhu, what ecstasy he is in. My Lord is coming tomorrow. I have to clean the temple. He employed everyone in this service of cleaning. So cleaning of the temple, this is a very, very important, it's a Manjari Seva actually. Now all our acharyas are Manjaris, right? They're in the line of Manjaris. So how Radharani, Mahaprabhu engaged all the devotees in the cleaning of the temple is a very, very significant pastime that happens the day before Jagannath ji gets there. So this happens on day 15, and then on day 16, starting calculating from the Snan Yatra, day 16, Jagannath ji's Rath comes to Gundicha temple, and then he stays there for 8 days. And after 8 days, the Rath starts back for Jagannath Puri. I'll stop here. I keep getting derailed and keep missing many details and beautiful stories, but I don't want to exceed like yesterday. So I'll stop here. Please add anything or correct or share any realizations. All the devotees. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening.
One question, Mataji. This you were reading all the verses from Chaitanya.
Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes.
Charitamrita. Okay.
It's
the one in which they describe the
yes,
the conversations, right? Okay.
Yes, I can show you this. So this is Veda base, and you see Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it
Yes.
has 3 parts. It is divided in the according to the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These pastimes come in chapter 1 and 13 of Madhya Leela. These particular verses. From I think in chapter 13 from verse 113 and chapter 1 from verse 53.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Anand Kishori Mataji or Abhiram Gopal Prabhu, Archana Mataji, Ketki Mataji, please add anything or correct anything. Okay, so if not, we'll stop. Mancha kaltarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna.